Hey everybody, Joseph Rothschild here, aka Monoblutron, back again with another episode of 10-Minute Testing. Today we're playing a deck that has been a personal kryptonite of mine. I've set out to make this video something like a half dozen times, but it's never worked, partially because the list is actually kind of hard to put together, and partially because I've had to come to terms with the fact that the deck just might actually not be very good. We're playing Super Soldier Invoked Nekroz, a deck that's just about the worst thing you've ever seen in your entire life. Let's get into deck edit to get disappointed. So here's the list. Now you'll notice that every single engine in here is ridiculously bare bones. If grass was at 3, I probably would have played the hell out of a 60-card version, but, you know, here we are. As always, I'll give you a little bit of background about the archetype, a little bit of a discussion about what I hope the deck can do, and as always, the card by card. So first, for those of you who don't know, there are actually 3 archetypes at work here. We have the Black Luster / Gaia tribe, the Nekroz, and the Invoked boys. Black Luster Super Soldier is a retrain of one of Yugi's ace monsters, Black Luster Soldier, and for some reason, Black Luster Soldier's support has always included nods to Gaia the Fierce Knight as well. After about 1,000 different iterations of bad support for the pair of them, the archetype got a really powerful ritual spell, Super Soldier Synthesis, a pair of strong tributes, and a Gaia that was, I mean, he's trying. Nekroz are a ritual archetype responsible for some of the largest salt mines in North America, at least until TSM goes 03 this week. The deck did everything. Its rituals were hand traps, they all searched, and their ritual spells floated to no end. Now the deck has been completely gutted, but since some of our stuff supports generic rituals, we should probably try out the best rituals of all time. Finally, Invoked is the archetype for the man who has everything. A splashable 6-card engine capable of pumping out powerful stun monsters, amazing beaters, and banishing our opponent's graveyards as well. So, this deck is almost exclusively revolutionary because it uses one of my favorite cards of all time, Set Rotation. Set Rotation allows us access to Magical Meltdown, it's instrumental for the Invoked portion of the deck, and Gateway, which is necessary for the BLSs and the Ritual spells. We've got a lot of turn 1 options. We can Gateway plus LUSTER for a Mechaba, since we search Charging Gaia. LUSTER fulfills the Synthesis condition, and there's also a lot of ways that we can cycle through creatures to add a Nekroz spell to our hand. Once on board, BLS and the Nekroz are formidable beaters, so it's possible that we steal some games just by running over our opponent. So, with that, let's get into the card by card. We'll start with a big BLS. We can play 2, but I don't think he's particularly good enough for anything but a fun of. Next is Charging Gaia, who is, he's fine, but most importantly, he makes Mechaba, and he can recycle Engrave. After that are the Little Nekrozes, 1 copy of Dance Princess and 1 copy of Wizard. Next are the 3 Manjus, number 1 in any ritual deck, the 3 A-listers, and the Knights. Beginning Knight lets your BLS banish monsters and attack twice. Evening lets you banish and Omega your opponent's hand. After that are our 2 Super Soldiers. It's so searchable, I don't think I would probably play 3. For Nekroz, we have 1 Trish, 3 Valk, 1 Brio, 1 Unicorn, and 1 Klaus. Basically the smallest amount of Nekrozes I am comfortable playing. After that are our spells, 1 Rhoda, 1 Invocation because I am just really greedy. 1 Prep Rites because space is really tight. 3 Synthesis because it gets from graveyard. 1 Mirror, 1 Cycle, 1 Kaleidoscope. 4 Field Spells. We have 2 Terraforming because something had to be cut. 3 copies of Set Rotation. Oh, God, I love hearing those words. 3 Gateway, 2 Chaos, and 2 Magical Meltdown. In the extra, we have a Double Ba, 1 of each of the others, a Shooting, Blazing, Busting, Blasting Quasar, a Herald, a Titanic Galaxy, a Tornado Dragon, a Castel, and 2 Utopias. So with that, let's jump into the games. Our first match is up against Blue Eyes White Dragon, a deck that's not particularly strong, but put up a lot of results in the Wild Wild West phase of this new format. We've opened okay, and we get to go first, which is always excellent. We're going to start by activating this copy of Gateway to Chaos, getting ourselves a copy of Black Luster Super Soldier, normal summoning Manju to get ourselves a Synthesis, and synthesizing with the Manju left in our hand in order to make Black Luster Super Soldier himself. Our opponent's going to activate Ancient Rules to summon Dragon Spirit of White, banishing our Gateway to Chaos, which is frustrating, attacking over our Manju, then tributing to run into our Black Luster Super Soldier. Thankfully, he floats into Charging Gaia, so we at least have something to do next turn. We also have an A-lister and a Set Rotation, so once we flip with this Gateway and get ourselves another Super Soldier, we are 1 ritual spell away from back in the game. This Mechaba should make quick work of this set card. We do get to attack, and it's only a White Stone of Legend, which I'm not particularly concerned with negating. We will then pass it back to our opponent, who activates his own Manju, probably to get a Chaos form, which will of course get negated by our Mechaba, and he will pass it back to us as well. So we have lethal here. Nothing wrong with a little bit of fun BM. We'll start by normal summoning A-Lister, using Invocation with our Mechaba for a Mechaba, putting A-Lister back, and then attacking 2300, and after A-Lister, 3500 points of damage. Our second match is up against Blackwing, and this hand looks strikingly similar to the last one, except there's no Manju, so we're going to have to be satisfied with a turn 1 Mechaba. I hear that's fine. We'll go ahead and activate Gateway to Chaos to get ourselves a Charging Guy, and normal summon this A-Lister for an Invocation, use it to make Mechaba, then get that A-Lister back and pass it back to our opponent. Now, unfortunately, our opponent has a Raigeki, so after the Raigeki, we are going to have to negate that, and after that, they can kind of go off. They're going to summon Kalut with Black Whirlwind out, get Gale the Whirlwind to have my guy. This gets me 2 counters and 800 damage as he goes into Nothing. Then he goes into Chris, getting himself, of course, another copy of Gale and another Chris as well. So I'm just a little bit off lethal here. I do have to use A-Lister to not die, but unfortunately he has a Kalut in his hand, and we actually get OTK'd. Our last match is up against a deck that I'm actually trying to talk one of my testing partners out of, so incredible that we found the only other player playing it. 60-card True Draco Pendulums. We get to go second, which is really bad against the Masterpiece deck. They're going to start by summoning Blue Boy, getting themselves a copy of Knowledge, not even bothering with secrets, and then double Wisdom Eye, getting themselves a Perp and an Ignis, probably the best 2 you could possibly get. They'll go into a Time Star, use Time Star to get Skullcrabat Joker, set a Time Pendulum Graph, and end their turn. We have an okay hand. We'll start by using the Reckless Magic Circle to get an A-Lister, then use A-Lister. Unfortunately, he gets Solemn Struck. Looks like it wasn't a Time Pendulum Graph after all. They're going to go ahead and draw into a Ghost Ash, which is going to make our next turn a Living Hell. Then use Double Iris to get the Time Pendulum Graph that I was baited into thinking existed last turn. They'll then get in for 24 and 18, and things aren't looking very good, especially with an active Time Pendulum Graph on their side of the field, especially when I can't even get the Invocation off the A-Lister. We can go into Valk, which is something, and then we can use the Nekroz effect in order to get ourselves a Nekroz from deck, but I know I'm dead, and at this point I figure it's worth my time just to BM as much as possible. I walk into the Joker with the Purple Poison and want to know how long it's going to take him to defeat us. Thankfully, we have a couple of Valks, so we can force him to play this game for at least 2 more turns, but probably not after that. We'll give him a Gateway to Chaos just for good measure, but of course our Magical Meltdown is not long for this world with an active Time Pendulum Graph on his side of the field. He's going to Pendulum Summon a Harmonizing Magician for a Purple Poison, then target the Time Pendulum Graph, get the Star Pendulum Graph effect, yada yada yada. Classic Pendulum Magician shenanigans, then attack for 24, or more likely 0, since we still had 1 Valk left. So now we're unfortunately all the way out of options. We get ourselves a Cycle, set 2, and pass, but he's not even going to let us set cards. The Time Pendulum Graphs will make quick work of that. He'll get in for, like 3,600 points of damage and 18 to kill us. So we're back with a deck. This one doesn't seem very good. The last deck was only meta by virtue of actually playing good cards, and we even lost to Blackwing of all things. Honestly, this deck excels at OTKing over already constructed boards, since Super Soldier puts out an unreal amount of damage, but it's got a real problem surviving until that becomes a possibility. Of all of the separate engines, I think the Nekroz one felt the least useful by a lot, and I figure I'd like to try this deck out again, just with the Kroz elements removed and some stun/good cards put in their place. You know, maybe a more fleshed out Invoked engine, hand traps, Gofu, Solemns, maybe even Scapegoats, that kind of thing. Until we carve out space for Twin Twisters and, I don't know, maybe even Kaijus, this pile definitely does not stand a chance in Masterpiece Magician's format. So that's that. Sorry for the bit of a downer. I was excited to see Nekroz do anything, but it felt like they really just took up space. If you want to see me play the decks I make on this show on stream, I'm on twitch.tv/monobluetron intermittently. There will be a stream tomorrow from 9 a.m. to noon Eastern Standard Time, and if you have any ideas for decks or archetypes you want to see on a future episode of this show, let me know in the comment section below, and I will do my best to accommodate you. Otherwise, I'll see you Tuesday.